Smarterfan.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan podcast, where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. How you doing, Barry?
Why you always sound like we at the barbecue and I just took the last Capri Sun out of the cooler? I'm doing good. How you doing?
Capri Sun?
Oh, Joe, it's all good in there. I'm just, you know what it is? It's so cold. I'm just wishing for the summertime. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you.
So I got to psych myself up. Cooler, barbecue, Capri Sun. I got to do what I can, bro. I got to do what I can. How you doing? What you got for us tonight? I know you always got something green and something good.
Yeah, well, we've touched on the ABA at from time to time, but I want to take a closer look. You know,
Okay.
So it was the league had 11 teams, and they ran from 67 to 76. You know, and they were a more flamboyant league than the NBA, to say the least. You know, now the NBA, they concentrated on teams in the Northeast, the Midwest, and the West Coast, where the ABA went into the Southern market. You know, and they had teams in Carolina, Kentucky, Texas, and Virginia. You know, so now the NBA had a strict rule that prohibited players from coming out of college until they completed 4 years. Yeah. Now, Spencer Haywood, he left college in his sophomore year to sign with a team in the ABA. And this was contested by the NBA and the NCAA. So the ABA felt that if a player is going through a financial hardship with his family or whatever, that they should be able to come out of college early. And the courts agreed. So, you know, this is what became the Spencer Haywood hardship rule. And that led to basically the one and done rule, because he paved the way for other players to come into the ABA after that. So, you know, but then the league kind of floundered because it didn't have a national television contract. So that was the league's downfall. And besides financial losses. So the Spurs, the Nuggets, the Pacers, and the Nets went into the NBA, but they weren't allowed to participate in the 76 draft.
Wow.
So now the Nets, they were forced to pay the Knicks $4.3 million. So
it's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, it was. So what they did was they offered the Knicks the doctor, right? And the Knicks turned them down. And I remember this because it pissed me the hell off, right? And so the Nets, what they did was they sold the doctor's contract to the Sixers, and the rest is history, you know. So now the Kentucky Colonels, they took a one-time buyout from the league, and the owner turned around and he bought the Buffalo Braves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which eventually I believe became the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the owner for the Spirit of St. Louis, he negotiated a cut of the other ABA teams' TV revenues in perpetuity.
So, mercy.
Yeah. So over 40 years, that owner made $300 million.
That's all? You sure?
Yeah.
In perpetuity?
Yeah. But here's where it gets interesting. Now, in 2014, the NBA and those owners agreed to end those payments and the NBA gave them a $500 million buyout. So they took that and they went off into the sunset.
Not a bad return on investment. And just to give a little perspective, these franchises back then weren't more than $10,000 or $20,000.
Yeah. Now,
anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting. Oh my goodness.
Remember you were saying how the doctor should be getting like a stipend from the NBA?
Absolutely.
Well, I read somewhere, I didn't get to read the whole article, but I read where the NBA is going to start paying these ex-ABA players.
They should.
Yeah.
They made the league.
Yes,
George Gervin. I mean, literally all the stars in the NBA of the 70s came from where?
Exactly.
The ABA?
Exactly. Yep. The Iceman, George McGinnis, the Hawk.
You know what I'm saying?
Gilmore.
All the superstars in the NBA of the 60s and 70s came from the ABA.
Yeah. And Rick Barry.
Yep.
Those guys. I mean, they were amazing. They were all amazing players, and you can't thank them enough for what they did for the league.
They built the league and saved the league a number of times, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But yeah. I'm almost offended that they haven't paid these guys. That doesn't even make any logical sense on any level that you wouldn't be compensating them. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, they're talking about doing it now.
Yeah. They need to. They need to. They owe those guys. That's why I always, even in the NFL, I think they should be paying those guys that still live to the 20s and 30s and 40s. Those guys, the 50s that are still alive, they should be getting red carpet treatment. Red carpet treatment. And that leads me into what I want to talk. Coach Prime has released his new book, New York Times bestseller already.
Okay.
21, I think, principles of life, basically. And I've been watching all of his interviews, all of the stuff he's sharing, and it really boils down to really being your best version of yourself, putting yourself and your talents first, working collectively with people who support you, and really about self-love. Loving yourself in a healthy way so you can love other people, and it's just amazing, literally amazing to watch. And what's amazing too is his son that's with him that records everything. And I was sharing with a friend of mine, and he says, well, what do you think about that? I said, there's a family called the Sabol family who did the same thing with the NFL, which all that wasn't all that TV and stuff. Who was recording that was not the NFL. It was the Sabol family for decades.
Yes.
Father and son basically got together and recorded it and created a multi-billion-dollar business. And I'm watching Coach Prime and his oldest, his junior, Bucky, doing the same thing, telling their story, telling a lot of stories from their perspective, because media has slanted it and chopped up sports. Anyway, I won't even get into that. But it's beautiful to see.
Yes.
It's beautiful to see. And it's so exciting to see because you're getting a lot of color, a lot of personality, a lot of stuff that you wouldn't get. You don't get. And that's why I really believe that ESPN is seeing its best days. I think it's just a matter of time before colleges, because they have the technological ability to do it, start broadcasting their whole games. Really do. I don't even know why they're giving the NCAA any of the money. I mean, just think about it. All you really need is the presidents of each university to create a governing board. You don't need the NCAA. You don't need it. What have they done? Not much, but get in the way. So anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Coach Prime is doing literally turn the page to the new world of college sports. And it's just amazing how many people are upset about players being compensated. And I'll stop right there, my friend, because I know you got some more about football and I want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, the rules committee in the NFL is proposing to have a rule that would put a ban on the hip drop tackling technique, and
where they cut the down lineman.
Yes, it's kind of like a wrestling takedown where you wrap them up and you swivel your hips, and the Players Association is strongly opposing this because they're claiming that it would create a lot of confusion between the coaches, the players, and the officials and the fans. So they don't want them to ban that. So, we'll have to see where that goes.
But they won't get rid of the chop block and the cut block on the defensive tackle, which makes no sense because you can't see the guy coming in and diving at your knee and potentially ending your career like they did with that kid from the Giants, Thibodeau. Thank God it didn't, but there's no reason. Again, I keep saying the same thing. In the most violent game on the planet, why do you need these illegal blocks that end careers? It doesn't make any sense to me. In the most violent game played straight up, why do you need those type of plays? You don't. They add nothing to the game.
Nope.
Completely nothing. They just end careers. That's all they do.
That's for damn sure. And they're also proposing to have touchbacks be marked at the 35.
Why? To speed up the game?
They're trying to cut down, I guess, on collisions. That's what they're claiming. And they said onside kicks would have to be reported to the officials prior to doing the onside kick. So these things they're proposing, they're not etched in stone, but
I mean, yeah, interesting.
Anyway, yeah. Now we had, we've had players moving back and forth as it's been the last few weeks. We knew Kirk Cousins went to the Falcons.
I was surprised by that.
A lot of people were, but now the Steelers have 2 starting quarterbacks, and they literally stole them because they got Russell Wilson for $1 million, and then they got Justin Fields for a 7th round pick.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best of both worlds. I mean, the reality is that Russell gets to play his way to be a starter, and the worst case scenario for the Steelers, if it doesn't work out, they got the heir apparent. He's young, right? And so it doesn't hurt. So Justin Fields could learn a lot from Russell Wilson, what to do and what not to do. And Pittsburgh has got probably the best upside they've had in a long time.
Yeah. And the Jets, they got Mike Williams. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And they got some protection for Aaron Rodgers. They snatched Tyron Smith.
They did.
Yes.
Ooh, I know they had to pay Tyron some big money. Ooh, Lord.
1 year deal for $20 million.
Man. I ain't mad at you, Tyron. Because he was about to retire. But $20 million to make it come out of retirement. I'll tell you that.
There you go. And Jerry Jeudy went to the Browns.
He did.
Yes, he did.
Interesting. Interesting.
And Chase Young went to the Saints.
Really?
Yeah.
He left the Niners.
Yes.
I don't know if I said it to you, but I'm trying to tell people the Niners are out of it for the next 4 seasons. They're done. Stick a fork in it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, stick a fork in it. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
You will not see the Niners back in the hunt for the next four seasons. Watch. Mark my words. And a lot of my 49er friends are mad at me, and they're like, I don't know how you could say that. I said, as long as you have that young man as quarterback, and I'm not saying it's his fault. Actually, I think if I was going to point any blame, the blame should go on the head coach. But it's like this: when you roll the dice like they've rolled the dice, and you can't get over the hump, you got 2 tries at it, and then everybody leaves.
Yeah.
You got 2 tries at it, and everybody leaves because it's financially unsustainable. And then you go, well, what's the problem? Man, I got all these weapons on offense. I got all these weapons on defense, and we still can't get it done. And it's only a matter of time until upstairs goes, Shanahan, I don't think you got it, baby. I've been spending a lot of money. I've been writing a lot of checks. I've been giving you all the weapons, and you still can't get it done. And that last foolishness they pulled on the defensive coordinator, one of the best coaches in the NFL, right? I think that move right there sealed their fate. I'd be surprised if Shanahan is there in 2 years. But that whole situation is getting ready to blow up.
Yeah, could be. You know, and on another note, Aaron Donald retired.
Good for him. Go out on top, baby. Go out on top.
That's what I say. He got his money. He got his ring. And Kyler Murray is saying, thank God.
I know. You know, Joe, you cold. You cold, Joe. Joe, you cold. You cold, Joe. You cold. You cold.
But anyway, so go ahead.
No, I know you was gonna say it. Did you see my boy Kyrie Irving? Look him.
Yes, I did see that. Yes, I did.
Now, Joe, you always beat me with this, and I had to pull it out of my hat because you got me like 10-0 on trivia. The trivia question is, how did Kyrie Irving develop his left hand? Did he break it? Or did he just naturally develop it over his career? Or did he have a special shooting coach from Duke? Which one would you choose?
If I had to choose, I'd say he broke his right hand.
I can't beat you for nothing. I can't get you. Geez, where's you always get beaten? That's how he did it. He broke his hand, broke his wrist, and that, I think, very early in his career, and he used that as an opportunity to learn how to shoot and dribble with his left, and that's how he developed his left hand so well. And as he was saying the other night, you know, people were like, "Oh, how did you, da 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 da?" He says, "I practiced that play. We do that play in practice."
Yeah. Hey.
And it came together, but it was just beautiful to see. It was just beautiful to see, and it was also beautiful to see how his teammates rallied around him, and the support, and because it's been a couple tough years and unfairly for Kyrie, and just to see him getting that love. Well, he's human. Everyone's human. We all make some good decisions and not so good decisions, and he's human. And as I share with people, imagine living your life that the whole world can see everything you do and judge everything you do. Not many people can live under that kind of microscope. But I just had to give you my Kyrie. I love it. I've always been a fan, and I only wish him the best. And
well, Jason Kidd's letting him play. So,
and listen, Jay is the coach. Jay know how to get it. They look much better with Jay. They look much better with Jay Kidd at the helm.
Yeah, and Luka's doing his thing, So
Luka, that scoring machine, can't play no defense, but he sure can score. But they got an interesting team. They have an interesting team. They really do. They really, really do. But I know you got some more we call NBA talk. What you got going on? What you got?
Yeah, well, I want to talk about a couple of players that rebounded from financial losses. Like,
that's always good.
Yeah, like Rick Mahorn, he had to file for bankruptcy because he said that it got to the point where his expenses were more than his income.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what he wound up doing is he wound up becoming a radio analyst for the Pistons. So he's kind of landed on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
Now Tim Duncan, he was going through a divorce when he found out that his financial advisor had lost $25 million of his money on a bad deal. So
that hurts.
Yeah. So he sued him and he got like 7.5 of it back. And the financial advisor went to jail for 4 years. Then Anton Walker, now this guy made $108 million over a 13-year period. Yeah. Right. But when he retired, he kept spending like the money was still coming in.
Yeah.
And then and he was supporting like 30 other people at the time. And
crazy.
Yeah, and on top of that, he wound up getting charged 6 felonies for writing bad checks.
Well, if you don't know how to manage it, you'll manage
it. Well, here's the irony. Now, he is a consultant for a program that educates athletes about money management.
Well, he can tell the story.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a real story. I was doing an interview on the podcast for a friend of mine, and he has some former NBA players. And I mean, I always tell people, you got to think about it. If you don't come from wealth, or somebody's not putting you up on how to handle this, because pretty much your life you're struggling, right? Mm-hmm. Even in college, in Division I, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, even Drew Bledsoe said this. He said, I went from having $1.35 in my account before the draft,
right,
and a couple million after the draft.
Right. Yeah.
He says both my parents were teachers, but I was not prepared on how to handle that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's why I think it should be mandatory for athletes, everybody, but especially athletes, understanding financial literacy.
Yeah.
And understanding, you've got, you need to, there's kind of 3 things. You want to get to a 10-year window, right? You want to save as much money as you possibly can. You want to plan out your money to most of it in the latter after your playing days, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Byron Davis did some very wise things with his money, didn't have an entourage of people, and then really kind of like Tracy McGrady did this with his family. He when he got his big deal, he kind of gave everybody in his family $75,000 and said, that's it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You manage it and grow it the best you can, but that's it.
Yeah. That's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do, because you have a very brief window, and you try, it's as a friend, as the former player told me, he said, Barry, you think you're invincible, you're young, you're rich, and we just did a lot of we just do a lot. You're a kid. You know what I'm saying? No one's told you, and you got this money, but you really don't know the value of it in the sense, and I mean, think about it. If you're making $20 million a year in the NFL, it's broken down into 18 checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that for a minute.
Well, the other thing they don't realize is that they're always an injury away from ending it all.
Yeah. That's why you have to be smart and have insurance in place and different things in place to protect yourself, in case it ends, because it can end anytime. You know what I mean? And that's why, popping models and the worst thing, the former NBA player said, the worst thing that really kills a lot of guys is having all these kids. and baby mamas,
i.e. Larry Johnson.
Yeah, because the crazy thing about it is you have to maintain the way the thing is set up. You maintain them at your lifestyle. So if you're multimillionaire, you got to maintain her and the baby at this lifestyle that you only really at best got a 10-year window if you don't plan right. So that's what happens with a lot of guys' money. It's not necessarily they squandered it. It's just they're maintaining 4 or 5 baby mamas and the kids at millionaire level.
Yeah, he owed one baby mama. He owed her $900,000, so he had to give her one of his houses, and then still pay $1,500 a month to pay off the debt.
Crazy, crazy.
But
crazy.
but the Knicks. I'm just wondering if they can stay afloat. Now, Jalen Brunson and the crew, they've been stepping up, and they've been, they're basically like treading water right now. Mitchell I think he's been doing drills now.
Okay.
They still don't know what's going on with Randall yet, but these guys like Anunoby, he's going to be in and out of the lineup because they say his elbow is still bothering him even after the operation.
Sure.
But some of these guys are like playing over 45 minutes. Wow. That's gonna wear on them after a while.
Well, it all depends. This is the second half of the season, so this is money time.
I know.
So this is really the opportunity to showcase what you got. That's really what it is. So because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know. You got to always be thinking, what my next move. You know what I mean? It's chess, not checkers.
Yeah.
In this league, and so you got to always figure out ways to increase your value, if you want to stay getting those checks.
Yeah.
And as I say about the checks, I had a very good. I got a statement for you. I was listening to Gilbert Arenas, and I agree with him. They were talking about Euroball and the NBA, and I think that Euroball is ruining the NBA.
I think so.
Is ruining the NBA, and I heard Shaq say something very interesting that he pretty much said, "I'm watching more women's college basketball than I've ever watched in my life," and I was watching South Carolina. Listen to how crazy this sounds. South Carolina play LSU. I've watched the game about 3 or 4 times. The same game. You know why?
More exciting.
More exciting, and the girls are playing defense. They falling on the ground. They scrapping. They throwing elbows. They throwing elbows. I said, basketball. I said, what? So you see what I'm saying? So
well, you know who used to play like that, right?
Yeah, the NBA.
Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
That was his style.
Yeah.
He was the garbage man.
I said, these girls are balling, throwing balls, playing tough D, getting it. Yeah. I said, man, listen, man, send back Euroball back to Europe, man. Give me some real basketball. You're so soft, flaky. I don't care what they call it. It's a walk. You pick up your dribble and take 2 steps. That's a walk. I'm telling you. It's a walk.
I'm telling you.
I'm like, what kind of send this back to Europe, please? What kind of 2-step? Unbelievable. Anyway, that's my feeling about Euroball. And I think it's dying because it's just not an exciting game. And it's just not. It's just no one plays any defense. People just kind of fall back and it's not tasty.
I had heard something. There was been rumblings about how the league would like to go back to letting them play. So instead of like these guys, when they're dribbling the ball and then they run into a guy looking for the foul, that the referees are not going to call it. They're going to let them play. Go back to the 90s style.
They need to do something because it's so soft. It's like Marshmallow League.
It is. That's why I can't watch it.
I mean, it's just like, you just gonna let him go to the rim like that? You just gonna let him dunk on you like that? There's no fear coming down the lane.
No,
Boy, people used to be like making sure their insurance was paid in the 90s before they used to come down the lane.
you got
What?
you got beat up by Oakley and Mason.
What? Oh my goodness. Hey, what you got? Well, aren't you, what else you got going on? Because you done beat me on the trivia. So you beat me there.
Well, A-Rod, he's finally getting his wish, and he's going to become an owner.
Of what?
Him and his partner Mark Lore, they're poised right now to buy the controlling rights of the Timberwolves,
the Minnesota,
and the Minnesota Lynx. That comes with the deal too.
Oh, okay.
So so they're backed by the Dial Capital, which is going to be a limited partner, and this process began in 2021. They started like making installment payments towards the team. And so they're going to get the controlling interests of both teams. They filed the paperwork with the NBA, I believe yesterday. And now it's just got to be approved by the NBA Board of Governors. And then, so he's finally getting his wish, and hey, I'm happy for him,
Yeah, A-Rod's a very smart guy. I was very fortunate to attend a lecture, and he was very transparent, and the question came up about ownership, and he actually really outlined kind of what the process is and how to position oneself. And he's a very smart guy. Smart guy, and I've always been a fan of A-Rod, and on and off the field. And I'm glad to hear that. Absolutely. Which kind of leads me
into how much are the owners going to make now? How much is A-Rod going to make now?
Man, listen. Let me put it to you this way. In doing my research on this, Joe, this is what's crazy. This is what shows you who really runs things. Now, we can go on the internet and find out what any player is making, terms of his contract, how long, signing bonus, how many baby mamas he got in Canada, Europe, and the Caribbean. We can find out all that business, Joe. But when I started to do my research on trying to determine just what the average owner makes, couldn't find it.
And you won't. Nope.
And I said, this is criminal. This is so criminal. But that's how obscene the money is.
Yeah.
That's what I keep trying to tell people. I was like, y'all be thinking, well, I remember when A-Rod got to 250. This guy's getting a quarter of $1 billion. I was just like, you know how much money the owner's making? You know how many guys are on a baseball team and you can have enough money to pay one that much money? Can you imagine what the owner's paying? It ain't like after the game, he in the VIP suite looking in the couch for change to figure out how to pay these guys. No.
Not at all.
So yeah, I mean, A-Rod basically took his wealth and now he's an owner. So he's really living, just to give you an idea, probably on average, just doing the math in my head, he's probably looking every season, netting, meaning what he'll take home, based on the tax law, a couple billion.
Hey.
After expenses.
Chump change.
Yeah, because see, what ends up happening, the game is this. The tax game, as a tax attorney explained it to me. He says, Barry, this is how you become wealthy. Whatever money you make, figure out how to buy an asset and let the asset buy your toys. So what you see people do is they buy an asset, a business, and then they leverage that and buy another asset, and then another asset, until kind of when you get to beyond the sixth asset, it just kind of scales up. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. Yeah, that's why in sports teams, when they eventually sell, the multiple is so high. The multiple is just so high, even if it's a losing franchise, because you got to remember it's a matter of scarcity. There's only 32 teams. There's only so many teams. Right? There's only 32. Yeah. Depending on what sport you play. So it's a very microcosm, right? And then you're just accessing markets. So it's NFL Europe, NFL Asia, NBA Asia. So you're just moving the product around to more and more people, but it's the same asset. So I said, wow. So what ends up happening is that if you get positioned right, you basically are just multiplying your money.
Yeah.
You just get to multiply your money. So you're Minnesota Timberwolves owner, but they're playing around the world. They got fans all over the world. They're selling merchandise all over the world. You're broadcasting all over the world. That's how Mark Cuban made a lot of his money early on in the internet, because he was broadcasting basketball games over the internet. That's how he made his money. So anyway, that's the game. And Mark sold a controlling stake in the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes, he did.
Once again, to leverage, right? Because it's an asset. So I'm going to sell part of the asset. I got my multi-billionaire status. I'm going to use that money and do what? Buy another asset that can make me more billions. See the game?
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yeah.
So even though they tried to hide all that information, I still figured it out, Joe.
Yes, you did. And that's why we bring you Behind the Veil.
That's right. Smarterfan Podcast. Stay in the game, because we always got something for you. Love you, Smarterfan family. Have a good one. See you, buddy.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Smarterfan.